What's up, guys? McIntyre here again. I'm going to do something that I haven't done before, and this might introduce my tier list to a lot of players that don't know that it exists. But today I'm going to go over the tier list for Li-Ming patch. Obviously, this tier list is based around solo queue and Hero League, not so much competitive, more so playing in Hero League, trying to get to rank 1, trying to get to higher MMR. Obviously, I have two accounts that are both in the top 10 MMR in North America. So I figure that, my opinions may help some of you out. And these are kind of pick rules that I live by if I'm trying to gain MMR in Hero League. Again, this is the Li-Ming patch. So just starting off right off the bat, S tier, Li-Ming, one of the few heroes right now in Heroes of the Storm that have both a comeback mechanic and a win mechanic. Li-Ming, when she's ahead, she's even more powerful. She can, just instantly burst an enemy team or one-shot someone on the enemy team. And in Heroes of the Storm, one-shotting somebody is all that you need to do. Just killing one of the enemy team members usually means a DK or a boss or some sort of objective one, and she does that really well. Also, with a comeback mechanic, if your team's behind and the other team misplays, and Li-Ming gets a few resets in a team fight, she can just come back in a team fight and bring your team back into a game. So she's on a tier of her own. She's in an incredibly bad spot. Cool mechanics, really fun hero, but I think they do need to tune her down a little bit. She is a bit much, like I said. But for now, if you're playing Hero League, pick her whenever you can, because if you don't pick her, the other team will, and you definitely don't want that. So going into tier 1s, I have wins fights for team without a real team. Essentially, the idea of this is, even if your team consists of Gazlo, some random other heroes, if you play these heroes well, you have a chance to win the game. So the warriors are ETC and Stitches. The reason I have these two warriors here are they both have pick mechanics, and pick mechanics are super important in Hero League. Being able to pick someone out of a team. Again, killing one person is so important. These two heroes excel at that, and they're easy to follow up, and a lot of people understand their mechanics. So, if you have a Tyrande, most of the time when you hook or slide somebody, the Tyrande will follow up. So these two heroes are very simple. Lots of people understand them, and they work very well. They're also self-sustain. So ETC with his power rock, and Stitches with his eat, they both can heal themselves. So they don't need focused heals from supports, which you don't always get. Going over the assassins, obviously, under Li-Ming, I still have Kael'thas and Jaina. Both mages are incredibly powerful still. I think I like Jaina just as much. She's still really good. Obviously, Kael'thas is incredibly powerful. I have Falstad here because of Gust. Gust in Hero League is, I would say, underrated. Saving team members is a powerful tool in itself, and it's something that, if perfected, can be used both offensively and defensively. So, and then I also have put Greyman in the tier 1 slot. The reason for this is he can one-shot a lot of the carries, and he reminds me of old Zeratul, where you would just pick somebody out in the team fight before the team fight happened. He has that same sort of mechanic. He also one-shots Li-Ming, which is powerful in itself right now during this meta. So I have him in the tier 1 slot at the very end, but he is still, in my opinion, tier 1 for Hero League. My two specialists, I have Zagara, obviously really powerful to push, really good to poke, incredible damage, really good sustain, and creep. A lot of times in Hero League, people just don't clear it, so Vision is a great tool. I also have Lunara as a specialist. I noticed she's an assassin, but to me, Lunara fills a wave clear role. She obviously has really great poke and good damage, but She can also be used in the slot that Zagara would be used. So if your team needs push or something along those lines, poke, I think Lunar is a fine pick there. So she's not a tier 1 assassin, but to me she's a tier 1 specialist. So a lot of people ask me that, and that's kind of my response. Going to the supports now, Rhaegar is the king. He could be considered an S tier, possibly, probably not, but he is really, really powerful. He's almost like a melee assassin that can heal more than any other healer in the game. What's cool about him is he has both sustained heals through his Q and burst heals through Ancestral, which is really important when you think about supports and healers. Healers have either burst heals or sustained heals. Rhaegar just so happens to have both. So that's a big deal when it comes to team fights and just the game in general. Also, being able to deal damage with his lightning shield, it's pretty insane. He pairs well with almost every hero in the game. He enables a few different heroes. He's just a really good pick. If you can get him and you want to gain MMR, take him. The second is Tyrande. Tyrande is still really good. Mark is still really good. Stun is still really good. Owl and Shadowstalk are also good. I would say that my win rate with her has not changed since the patch. Obviously, her healing got hit a little, but she's more about damage and getting picks and less about healing. So you sustain your team enough to kill the enemy team once, and then you win the fight from there. So going into my last tier 1 pick, Uther. He's fallen off actually a lot, but he still has his place with D-Shield. He's not what he used to be, but saving somebody from getting picked is still a useful tool. So I still have him up there. Also, stun with Benediction, double stun, shrink ray, all good tools in the current meta. So we're moving on to the tier 2s. I have helps team towards victory, strong picks. So everything here is, if you pick them and you can play these characters well, you'll do well. A lot of them need to be paired with certain other heroes. Let me fix some spacing here. Usually you need to be paired with other heroes to be super effective, but I think they're all good at what they do. So in my warrior slot, I have Diablo, Muradin, Leo, and then Sonya. So Diablo, obviously, a great engage warrior. The souls are big. If you can get a pick as Diablo and die, then you can use soul res back. That's a strong mechanic in itself. Lightning Breath and APOC are both really good. APOC, to me, is better because if you can get your APOC slam combo, that's a 2-second stun. It also stirs up the enemy team. So Muradin, Fallen, obviously. His mini stun was a lot more important than people thought. Still a great warrior. Stun Stormbolt is really good. Avatar and Stone Form together are really good. His reverb is awesome. Just not what he used to be, unfortunately. Leoric, the next warrior, self-sustain, big damage, in-tune picks, can lane safe. A lot of good things going on there. No complaints. Sonya, still strong, not the damage that she was. The sustain that she was is still there because they didn't hit her auto attack or her spin, but she still doesn't just kill people like she used to. So you need a comp kind of dedicated around here at the moment to really do well as her. So, but she is still a good pick if the team needs it. Going to the assassin. So this is now the melee assassin slot. They kind of fall right under these tier 1 range. So if you don't need range, you can take these guys. Thrall, Sunder is really good. He's got one of the best lanes, the soul lanes in the game. The Wolf is a great follow-up for any of the tier 1 warriors. Zeratul, good pick. VP is a thing. He's got great damage. He's good against bosses now that Master Warp Blade is buffed against PvE. He's a great pick. Raynor and Vala are now my I would say my niche range, Rainer being self-sufficient. If you're not gonna have supports, if you have something that's gonna eat all the support up, Rainer's pretty good. He also does well against ETC with Relentless Leader. Vala, same sort of idea. Super mobile, lots of AoE damage, lots of spell damage. Doesn't have to play too far out of position to deal damage. So she's actually in a really good spot. I need to move this Murky pick down. Give me 1 second. I actually don't like Murky, and I need to move Cho'Gall up. I don't like Murky because of Li-Ming. Alright, so going to my specialist now. I have Hammer here as my first specialist in the tier 2. Again, if you have a comp that does well with him, then he can be really good. But again, he's not. He can, or she can be fine by herself. But if you draft her and then your team doesn't protect you and they hard engage, then you're in trouble. I've seen a lot of Hammer players that are Hammer mains and they do well with her. And I've had success with her too, the games that I've picked her, but she's not something that I'm going to play every game. Same goes for Sylvanas. Lots of wave clear. Really good at pushing, but not so good at damage and team fights. And a lot of the time for me here, League is about team fights and picks. So if you don't do those well, then you're not a viable pick in my opinion. Cho'Gall, this is a hero that I've started to practice. He got buffed this patch, so he's actually pretty good. Cho'Gall has a lot of self-sustain, a really good late game, nice pick if you do the shadow volley with the pull in. Not a bad pick. A lot of players don't respect him. They won't send people to defend. You get free push. If you have a good partner and you're good at it, he's I think a fine pick. Tier 2 supports. So these are the supports that are possible to pick. Potentially the other team takes Rhaegar. Tron not safe. Ultra healing's not enough. Medic to me is a strong sustain pick. Can do a lot of things if she's protected well. Tassadar, great at shields. Self-reliant. Monk, 7-sided strike with stitches. That's a real thing. It really pairs well with nice melee assassins. Lots of mobility. Obviously, really good on maps where punching things is a priority, like Curse, taking bosses, or Battlefield for Eternity. He's really good there. So that's my tier 2. Tier 3. These are a lot of the picks that are incredibly niche. You probably won't see them a lot, and if you do, it's because the player loves them or is a main of that character and can play them very well. So for tier 3, our warriors, I kind of jammed a lot of the warriors here because I think all the warriors are all pretty much tier 3. These are not non-playables, but there are better choices in Hero League, especially without bans. So our warriors, we have Joanna, good wave clear, really good at shrines, good at peeling, stopping ETC, mosh, things like that. Tyrael, sanctification is really powerful if used in the right hands. His body block with his Q on his holy ground on 16, good at stealing objectives. A lot of things going on there. Chin, I wish that he was more, but he isn't. Good at lane, good poke, but if the other team has any form of CC, then he has a lot of trouble. Nubarak is, I think, a good warrior. Like, he team fights well, but like his wave clear is kind of mediocre. His laning phase is kind of weak, and if you miss a lot of his skills, they're not hard to hit, but they are harder than most. Then he becomes kind of useless. Same goes for Arthas. Not a lot of bang for your buck, but if you do play these characters perfectly, they do things pretty well. It's just hard to say, do they do things as well as like Stitches and ETC? That's the question here, and to me, they don't. But they are all picks, and if you want to play them, feel free. You just probably won't get the same win rates and percentages with the picks above. The assassins, I have Kerrigan and Nova. It's hilarious that I have Kerrigan here, being like a Kerrigan main. It almost hurts me, but if you don't know how to play this character, you shouldn't, and a lot of people don't. So I have her rated lower. Obviously, I like playing her in Hero League. Again, this is like if your team, if you can play her well, if you can play this character well, then you can do well with them. So she's that, and then Nova, obviously getting nerfed. I don't think that she's trash can tier because she can still pick people, but she is a lot weaker than what she used to be. Her problem obviously is no wave clear, so don't draft her unless your team has wave clear. Otherwise, you'll struggle. The specialist, we have Abathur, Vikings, and Murky. Abathur split push, really powerful post 16. His clone, if you have a good clone target, he comes into play. On big maps, cursed and stuff, he's also very powerful. So same goes for Vikings. This is another niche pick, but on Garden and Curse and these bigger maps, Vikings get a lot of value just soaking. A lot of the time, you don't even have to play them because the other team has to rotate to objectives. And you see a lot of powerful Viking players in Hero League, gain ranks playing these heroes, these two especially, because they just went through soak and push mechanics. I have now moved Murky to tier 3. He used to be tier 2 for me, but with Li-Ming, he's kind of drawn away. He was tier 2 in the Tyrande patch, so a lot of the time people were solo healing Tyrande. Tyrande obviously doesn't have cleanse, so Murky came into play for me. But now that patch is kind of gone and Redgar's come up, I think he moves down. Two supports, Malfurion and Bright. Brightwing, obviously great mobility, can move around the map. Her tier 3 again, niche. And Malfurion, AoE heals, lots of powerful healing, but not burst healing. Not a whole lot of pick potential. Root's good, but if you get a Zeratul on you as Malfurion, or your team does, you're not gonna save that person, you're not gonna save yourself. So that's why Malf falls out of that category for me, or falls weaker than the other supports. Still can be used well in the right hands. So tier 4, these guys are the ones that I think Blizzard needs to work on. If you're playing them, I would say don't expect to win. I know there's people out there that might hit me on saying this, but I just don't feel like these characters are as tuned as the ones above, and I get that there's mains for characters, and a lot of these characters in this tier are very unique and cool, but none of them do things well to me. Like Rexar's Misha is cool on Dragonshire, and getting the shrine with the Misha is cool. But he doesn't he doesn't have a lot of damage. He's more of a CC bot, and if he gets engaged on, which look at the meta, right? He has a hard time staying alive. So Artanis, I think that he actually could be used well. The only problem with him is requiring to be 50% health is kind of silly, and if you get below 50 and then you get comboed out or something, then you just die. But, at a lower rank in Hero League, I think that, if the other team has bad focus fire, Artanis can really shine. So maybe he can win. He would be the one that I would say would be the strongest of those two. So Assassins, I have Butcher, the Charge. Again, if he engages, then the other team just focuses him. Tychus, he just needs more. The fact that his Q can get canceled by CC is kind of silly. His auto attacks outside of Q are weak. Odin is good, but it takes so long to start up that is it enough? Probably not. And Illidan I have last in the tier. The reason for this is because I just want to stray people away from taking Illidan. I know that if you have the comp and the shields and stuff, he can be good, but he's just not where he needs to be right now. If you want to take him, feel free to, but I will not be taking him currently. just because of the way that the meta is working. So going to the specialists, a lot of the specialists moved to this tier 4. Gazlo, obviously, his turrets, they haven't gotten scaled yet, so they die to anything. They deal 0 damage. His laser beam, if charged up, it's cool, it looks cool, it deals some damage. Gravo bomb's pretty good, but is it enough? I don't think so. Why Gravo when, there's so many other choices? Thralls, for example, Sunder does kind of the same thing, but you don't have to hit some luxurious combos. Zagara Maul, Lunar, like there's so much going. I just don't want to go over it really. Asmo, good again in like maybe a competitive setting if the other team lets you stack, or if you're duo and you stack the whole game, could be good. But if you're solo, again, this tier list is solo tier list. Don't expect your team to help you ever, and Asmo requires help. Nazeebo, I have last pick. I just don't think he is in this. He doesn't scale enough right now. After the scaling changes, his numbers are all wonky. He feels like he just is dealing, tickle damage. His impact in team fight isn't there. His presence isn't there. Outside of zombie wall maybe, and then in some cases zombie wall helps heroes and enables like Sonya's and Kerrigan. I know I love playing against Nazeebo because they zombie wall me as Kerrigan, and then I just queue all his zombies and heal off every one of them. So I'm not a huge fan. He needs better scaling in this patch. And then support, I have Lili. I know her win rates are good. If you're a lower tiered player or lower MMR, like sure, play Lili. She's a bit easier. But as you rank up and get better and get towards the higher MMR, if you're taking Lili has no focus heals. She has no targeted heals. She doesn't get cleanse until 16. She doesn't have burst heals. And if we go back up to tier 1, all of this stuff is burst. And it's all big damage. So she doesn't do that well. Obviously, if you have a hard time healing, go for it. But Lili will not heal against the Li-Ming. Just straight up. So but that is my tier list. Obviously, I have some write-ups and stuff down here that I'm not going to go over. If you want to check this out, I do try to keep it pretty up to date. It will be in the description below, and I have it on my Twitch. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I think I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I've never done it. So hopefully I did well. If there's any, suggestions for future, I know I say a lot. I'll keep working on that. I want to do this more often. I don't think anybody's kind of creating content like this. Maybe they are, but I think my opinions can be helpful to people, and I don't put them out there enough for people to enjoy. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please put a like on the YouTube. Maybe come swing by, check out my Twitch and Twitter. You can follow me on either places. I'm pretty active. I try to be within the community. I like this game a lot, so I want to influence people to like it as much as me or enjoy it as much as me. So hopefully this video will help you out, again, to gain some ranks, get up in the higher ranks of Hero League, maybe GM one of these days. But until then, cheers. Thank you guys for supporting me, and hopefully I will see you for the next tier list video. Alright, take it easy, guys.